Welcome to TriTech University. My name is Bill Steppen, and today we're going to take a look at customer purchase orders. Purchase orders is kind of one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot within the program, so I want to make sure that the concept of customer purchase orders versus store purchase orders makes sense, and then we're going to take a look at how these can be used and what you as the store get out of this functionality. Before that, like always, over to the right-hand side of the screen is your option to switch to the chat function. And then at the bottom of the chat window, you'll see a little button that will say nickname. Go ahead and click on that and then punch in your name and say hi. I'd love to see you here, and that's going to be your primary way of communicating with me and chatting with your cohorts here during this live stream, as well as asking any questions that you have during this broadcast. Outside of that, then, let's all go ahead and do like we do and switch over to my AIM screen over here, and we will get started. So, like I was saying, there's a difference between customer purchase orders and store purchase orders. If you've attended any of my sessions in the past, you might know that we have a whole purchase order menu here where we talk about actually ordering products for the store using purchase orders. A purchase order in any case is all about purchasing product and having it either delivered to you or picking it up. It's all a matter of perspective, really, when we talk about purchase orders for customers versus store. When we talk about a customer purchase order, we're talking about their own tracking of what it is that they need, regardless of who they're purchasing it from. So when we talk about a customer purchase order, they have generated some kind of tracking ID that they want to use to keep track of their purchasing power, to keep track of their budgeting, and they're basically giving you that information so that you have that on file for them. So we're not going to be really getting into anything regarding the purchase order module during this session. When we talk about customer purchase orders, it's all something on the customer side of the equation. If we go into the modules menu and then go to customers, you'll see this option here called PO spending limit. And just for the purposes of clarity, if you don't see it on the touchscreen menus, you can see it here as well using the drop-down menus. So PO spending limit is short for purchase order spending limit, and either way you get to it, this is how you create and track your purchase orders from the customer side of things. So do I have any schools in here? I don't think I do. So let's actually go ahead and just use our good old buddy Mike Anderson here as my usual test subject. So when we track a purchase order on the customer side, we can put in a purchase order number. So let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we can give it some additional information. We can give it a description. Let's call this the fall term budget, just giving it a number or a name. We can give it a contact. We don't necessarily need to give it these particular details. All we really need is the PO number and then a total amount, but it's nice to have this information on hand. Let's just say it's Mike. This is especially relevant if we are talking about a school or some other type of institution. Hey, Kara, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give this a total. So let's just say it's $500. I know they're usually for a lot more than that, but we'll just put that in there. And now down at the bottom, you can see there's a couple of date fields here. So the date is the date that we are keying it into the computer system. And then the expiration is essentially when, if necessary, this purchase order is set to expire. Let's just say it expires at the end of the year on the 31st. Again, the expiration is not needed. All that you really need, again, is the PO number and an amount. You can see there is an amount used here. We're going to leave that at 0 for now. And then if we want, we can put in some notes down here at the bottom. But let's go ahead and save that. And you can see that this gets added to the customer's account as a PO spending limit. Now, where does that come into play? Let's go ahead and hop into a point of sale session. And there we go. We'll pull up Mike. And ignore the special orders that need to be invoiced. That's probably from a session that I had done earlier. And let's just resize this so that it fits into the window here. So now that we have this account up, we can go ahead and we can basically do transactions like normal. But anything that you do as far as a transaction can be affiliated with that purchase order number. What I want to do first and foremost is let's just go into my customer history screen here, and let's go down to where is this? There we go, purchase orders. So we're going to click go on this and bring this up over here. We can see that here is the purchase order that we just put in, 12345, the date, the expiration, the limit, the used, etc., etc., etc. And you can kind of see that up here at the top. Down at the bottom is currently empty for now. Now, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and make some purchases. So let's say we've got one RT14. Let's try that again. And then maybe an RT10, and that's all that we really need. Now, before I do anything else, I want to add the purchase order to this transaction. So I'm going to go over to the wrench menu, and you can see there's an option here to enter PO. I'm going to click on that, and you can see it's coming up here for enter PO. Now, what I can do, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. I could type that purchase order number in, but I can also press F6 while I'm on that screen. And you can see it brings up a select PO window here. And from here, I can see the purchase order that's already there. If I needed to, I could click the PO spending limit button here, which would then take me to the screen where I could add another purchase order. But for now, let's go ahead and select PO 12345. And it may not be apparent, but what you can kind of see now here up in the little info box is it's now affiliating this transaction with purchase order number 12345. So let's go ahead and tender this, and we'll just say it's being paid for by cash. And in a lot of cases, this might get charged to their account or some other form of basically transaction, but we'll just say it's being paid for by cash, 722. We will finalize, and then we'll just print this to the screen, just so that everyone can see. So again, basically not too different from any other normal kind of transaction, except we can see now up at the top, this is referencing that PO 12345 here on this sales invoice. So now if we go back and take a look at Mike's account here, and look specifically to the purchase order history, we can see that there's the purchase order, 12345. Notice how it's now showing a used amount of $7.22, and there is $592.78 left on the amount left. And then down at the bottom, we are basically going to see a breakdown of all of the transactions, all of the basically anything that references that purchase order number. And then that's basically all that we got there. You can see there's not a whole lot of right-click functionality here. I figured I'd just check that to see if there was like a direct reprint or anything along those lines. But yeah, that's basically the concept of purchase orders. Now, of course, that function that we saw back here, enter PO, that can be used for any mode that you might be in, whether that's just regular point of sale mode or approval or delayed delivery or layaway, etc., etc. If we go into a special order, when you're on the special order form, you can see there's a PO field up here, and same concept. You can press F6 to select and or key in a purchase order direct from there. That's basically the whole idea with that. Now, as far as reporting goes, you can go in and run I'm in the contracts menu. You can go and you can run a purchase orders report, a PO spending limit report right here next to my chin. It's going to be in that reports and customer menu. And then you can run this for any date range. Let's just do today through today, just because that's the date I've got in there. You can limit this by location. You can focus it to a specific customer account or purchase order number. And then you can see there's a details type here. It defaults to invoice details. You can also go more in depth and you can see invoice line items, or you can go more broad spectrum and ask for just the PO totals only. Let's start with invoice line items, and then you can see we can also specify purchase orders with a balance only, and as well as to exclude any expired purchase orders. Let's just throw this to the screen, and then we'll bring this. Oh, you silly monitor. Okay, let's get this, so hopefully we can make this a little bit easier to see. There we go. So you can kind of see it's going to show the purchase order number, the account that it's for, the date, the contact, the expiration, the adjusted amount left, etc., etc. So you can kind of see how it's showing all these details here, and then it's going to have the individual transactions less the line items in this case, since we went all the way specifically to line item detail. And then down along the bottom we can see the total, the amount used, and the balance. And then of course there's the grand total, which there was just the one record, so not a whole lot different there from just the straight up line item there. So yeah, basically that's the whole idea with customer purchase orders. If a customer ever requests this information, of course, you can run this specific to their account. You can use that same F6 function in the account number field, so that way you're only getting that account if you wanted to produce this for the customer, as opposed to your own internal tracking. I'm trying to remember if this is something that shows when you go to print the customer history. Let's actually take a quick look at that together. So let's go to the customer history option here, printing customer history. That is somewhere here, customer history. Well, let's just do this, history. Customer history, printing history. Boy, I thought there was a direct way to, oh, there it is. Okay, print customer invoice history. That's what it's called. So reports customer and printing customer invoice history. Here it is. So when you go to run this, let's just look at this together, like I said, and see if this includes purchase order information. Looks like it can be run for a specific purchase order. Let's just go ahead and run this report, and we'll look at it together. So if you're not familiar with this report, this is basically a way to get information to the customer should they request it. Especially for tax purposes and things like that. So we can print out their invoice history, and you might have seen there was options to include or not include certain information. So we can see the invoices, the dates, the amounts, tax abouts, and things of that nature. And I'm not necessarily seeing anything showing any, well, there is a PO field here, so we can kind of see that most of these have that PO field empty, and then we get down to the transaction that I just did, and there's the PO number right there. So if you wanted to run that for a specific purchase order number, you certainly could. Now, that same F6 functionality is not going to work here as it does elsewhere, just because this is a broader report. So it doesn't necessarily know that we were looking up POs specific to this account versus just POs in general. So kind of keep that in mind if you're going to want to make sure that you specify an account number as well as a purchase order number. Not to say that you couldn't do just a specific purchase order. Let's say, for example, we leave the account open and then we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the field there. This is saying to please enter something. So it does require a specific account number. You can't just run this for accounts in general. You will need a specific account. So, but yeah, just something to kind of keep in mind with that. But yeah, that's basically, like I kind of said, the idea of a customer purchase order. It's not so much for any benefit to you, but it's a great benefit to the customer. In the same manner as to why you have purchase order numbers when you place orders with your vendors, so that you can call the vendor up and say, hey, how's my purchase order going? I need that stuff. Customers do the same thing with their purchase orders. So I see Kara is testing the testing the chat function. You're saying your messages weren't coming through. I'm seeing them now. Was there a question that you had in regards to customer POs? Kara saying, can you do an example of a committed order with the PO number? I'm a little confused on the PO tracking with the amounts attached to orders. Sure. So yeah, let's hop back into point of sale, and we'll pull up Mike. And we will do a special order, and we'll pull in that PO number here. So we'll select it, and then we will put in, let's do RT10 just to get away from RT14 for a bit. Let's say they want 10 of those. So we can kind of see that's coming up for $28 plus a $1.96 tax for a total of $29.96. Let's go ahead. Actually, let me ask this, Kara. Would you normally take a deposit against any purchase order or special orders? I imagine you would. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we'll say it's $29.96, and we'll save that special order, that committed order for the customer. We'll go ahead and tender that, and we'll just say it's being paid for by cash. And then we'll finalize that, and I'll throw this to the screen. So we can see, as soon as I bring this over, that this customer's special order is specifically attached to that PO number, the PO 12345. And now let's go back and take a look at that customer history. So remember, for those of you who are not familiar with committed orders, that's basically a special order for the customer. They're basically saying that they want to order that product. We might not have it in stock, and we're attaching a customer's purchase order number to that. So in this case, we can see that it does have the committed order affiliated with that PO. Notice that it's not changing the amount used yet, and that's because that order has not officially been invoiced. We would need to go through and put that order onto a purchase order, which then get a purchase order of our own, a store PO, which then would be sent to the vendor in question, which it then gets received, and at that point we would then turn around and invoice it, at which point it will still be attached to that PO, the customer's PO, and then it will update the amount used. So Kara is saying typically no deposit for POs, special orders for customers we do, but they would not have a purchase order. So I kind of was wondering about that. And then how does the tracking look if the order is canceled? So yeah, since we have not yet officially put it all the way through yet, let's go ahead and cancel that order. Now, when we talk about canceling an order, we would basically go in and we would delete it. So if we go into modules and POs and utilities, we would go and delete that order. I don't remember the order number off the top of my head, so let's just pull up the customer account. And we'll bring this up so everyone can see it. So here is the order that I just put in. Let's go ahead and select it. And we're confirming, yep, we no longer need the 10 Mighty Freshes, so we'll delete that order. Yes, we are sure we want to delete it. So then that removes that order. And now let's go back and look at the customer's history. And we'll go to the purchase order history. And we can see it no longer shows that order affiliated with it on the PO. Does that make sense, Kara? And then you're also asking, what if you do not take a deposit? I noticed it did not show an order amount, but maybe because there was no balance. Oh, I did technically take the deposit. If you don't take a deposit, I mean, the deposit itself is just an amount. You can kind of see here, here's the order deposit that I had just taken, so the $29.96. Now that order has technically since been deleted, so if they no longer needed that, I would turn around and offer them to refund that amount back to them unless they wanted to apply that towards another purchase. But the customer's PO is tied more to the transaction, not to the payment information, if that makes sense. By the way, if there's anyone else here and you have questions, definitely go ahead. Like I said, over on the right-hand side of the screen, click to the chat and let me know if you got any questions. You might need to put your click down to the bottom and put in your nickname. So yeah, I suppose you're saying there's definitely a delay, which makes sense. There's a lot going on with the internet, so but yeah, hopefully this is all making sense as far as customer purchase orders. It's not a huge part of the system, but it is something that you can take advantage of with no additional add-ons to the system. It's just part and parcel with what we would call our basic package with the customer and point of sale functions. So definitely take advantage of it if you feel it would be helpful. If there's any questions down the road, definitely give us a call as well. We'll be more than happy to answer those any way we can or help out any way we can. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming calendar when it comes to my my live stream schedule. So next Tuesday, is that correct? Yep, next Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving, I will be doing a special live stream. I'll be doing a live stream on customer wish lists. So anything that your customers are looking to purchase, if you don't have it in stock or you've never heard of it before, you can use that to take advantage of that. Again, that's part and parcel with the basic package, so we will explore that together. And then the month of December starts shortly after that. So starting on Tuesday, December 7th, we're going to dive into everything you've ever wanted to know about physical inventories. So we'll start on Tuesday the 7th with how to best prepare for a physical inventory. We will then look into doing a physical inventory, our procedures for physical inventories on Thursday, December 16th. And then we'll wrap up the month with some, what I'm calling physical inventory protocols, just basically things to consider before, during, and after your physical inventory procedures. So that'll be wrapping things up on Tuesday, December 21st. And then, if there's anything else that you can think of regarding this topic or any other topics, definitely let me know. Up in the top right of the screen, you will see the link to the poll. So if there are any specific topics that you would like to see me cover during one of these live streams, click into that and you can make your recommendation there. You can also vote on any existing entries that others have added there. I always reset that poll every month. And if you want to see if a particular topic has been covered in the past, click to the videos playlist, and then one of the playlist options in the upper right corner is recent live streams. You can click to that and you'll be able to see as well as watch all of the recorded live streams that I have done up to this point, at least using this particular format. I've done other webinars in the past, and those are just wherever they would be most appropriate in the various playlists: customers, inventory, ledger, purchase orders, etc., etc. So, thanks for everything. And I do see another question here coming in from Scott. Can a purchase order be added to a service ticket after it has been invoiced? Yes, thank you. My NyQuil-addled brain forgot all about that. Let me switch back over to my screen here. So if you do need to go back and reference a purchase order to a transaction after the fact, you can do so. It's in the customer modules menu. So modules and customers, and change invoice. When you click onto change invoice, it'll ask for the invoice number, or you can leave it blank like I did and pull up the customer account. And then this brings up the change invoice button, or change invoice screen, if you will, excuse me. And then you can go to any invoice that's been on the account, and then up here at the top right, it'll show not only the original purchase order number, but there'll be a space here where you can put in the new PO. So this is basically retroactive. If we go in and let's find, not that one, let's say, let's go with this one. So this is just a, looks like a basic cash sale from what I can tell. Let's go ahead and put in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can use that same F6 function here, and we will save that. So now you can see that is affiliated with the PO. So then when we go back to customer history, that's change customer history. And then we'll go to purchase orders. And you can see it's now showing not only that transaction from the past, 1026, but it is also updating the total amount used and the amount left. So thank you very much for reminding me about that, Scott. I knew there was something else I wanted to show, and I couldn't quite remember where it was. All right. So yeah, definitely, like I said, let me know if there's anything more that we can do for you here. If you need to reach me directly, you can email me at training@tritechretail.com. And I'd be more than happy to help out any way that I can. Otherwise, I hope you're able to take this info and take advantage of it to whatever extent you need to do so. Until then, I think that will do it for today. So thank you so much for attending. We will see you next Tuesday. Yep, I'm trying to keep my days straight here. Next Tuesday for customer wish lists. And until then, I hope you can all make it a great day. Take care.